Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really digging into one of the biggest challenges in tech budgets right now.
Oh, for sure.
It's this massive, soaring ambition of artificial intelligence and how it's colliding with the messy, frustrating reality of actually trying to make it work inside a company.
It's the essential conflict, isn't it? And the financial stakes are just enormous. Our sources are confirming that companies are, well, they're all in.
They're not just experimenting anymore.
Not at all. We're talking 97% of enterprises putting in over $1 million. And get this, 61% are pouring in over $10 million.
Wow.
But the results are, frankly, disappointing. And that leads directly to financial risk and a real breakdown in governance.
So our mission today is to cut through all that marketing hype and figure out this paradox for you. Why are these incredibly capable, incredibly expensive tools just failing to deliver consistent, measurable value?
Right. What are they trying to build, and why does the foundation keep cracking?
Exactly.
So I think we should start with the blueprint, the exciting part, the promise of agentic AI.
Okay, let's unpack that, because we really need to distinguish this from, the last generation of automation.
It's a world away from a simple chatbot where you ask a question, you get an answer. Or even from RPA, robotic process automation, which is very rigid.
Right, very step-by-step.
Exactly. Agentic AI is a true evolution. These are autonomous software agents.
And what does autonomous actually mean in this context?
It means they don't just execute one command. You give them a high-level goal, and the system itself plans a multi-step workflow to get there. It executes that plan across different systems.
And this is the key part, right?
This is the crucial part. It learns from the feedback, it figures out if the steps worked, and if not, it adjusts the plan and tries again.
So the big distinction here is that this technology can handle work that requires, judgment.
Yes.
And that's transformative because these agents can finally interact with that huge pile of unstructured data, the PDFs, the emails, the contracts.
All this stuff that makes up about 90% of a company's information.
Which traditional automation just couldn't touch.
Right. And we're already seeing the best examples of this in these really highly regulated fields where people used to just be buried in paperwork.
Can you give us a concrete example so we can really visualize that multi-step planning?
Absolutely. Let's take financial services. Think about the whole know your customer, KYC, and anti-money laundering process.
Okay.
Instead of a human manually checking documents, an AI agent gets a high-level goal, like onboard this new high-value client.
And it just goes from there.
It plans the steps. Step 1, pull the identity documents from an email that's unstructured data. Step 2, cross-reference that info against, say, 3 internal databases and an external sanctions list.
So it's hopping between systems.
Exactly. Then step 3, it flags any problems, writes up a summary, and routes the whole package to a human compliance officer for the final sign-off. The human's job shifts completely from processing to
judgment. That makes it very clear. And we're seeing this in other sectors too, right?
Oh, yeah. In life sciences, agents are pulling out complex trial data, orchestrating these compliant review cycles. And in the public sector, they're being used to triage citizen requests, classify records, basically, to cut through huge case backlogs.
What's genuinely fascinating about this is how this capability, which sounds like it's only for giant corporations, is also driving democratization.
That's a great point.
We saw a note from a Y Combinator-backed founder, and he was arguing that these agents are leveling the playing field for small businesses.
He sees it as a fundamental economic shift. Before, if you were a small business, you needed a whole tech team to build 24/7 customer support or personalized marketing.
Right, which you couldn't afford.
Now, a small team can just give an agent a high-level goal, something like set up a personalized campaign for customers who abandon their shopping cart.
And the agent handles the rest.
It handles the multi-step execution. So without huge budgets or a team of coders, that small business can automate admin tasks, generate invoices, handle complex customer stuff. It sounds like a fantastic proposition for everyone.
It absolutely does. Which, of course, brings us to the inevitable reality check.
Right.
And this is where it gets really interesting for me. Because despite all this capability, despite the fact that 99% of people say AI saves them time, the implementation struggles are rampant. The failure rates are just shocking.
They really are. The promise of productivity is there, but the ability to actually scale it and get that value is fundamentally broken.
Yeah.
We're seeing stats that show 31% of AI proof of concept projects fail almost entirely.
And the reason isn't the tech itself.
No, it's poor preparation.
When I see a phrase like poor preparation, that sounds like corporate speak. Is that just the vendor saying, hey, the tool worked, you just weren't ready for it?
That's a critical question, and yes, it can be an excuse, but it points to two very real, deep issues.
Yeah.
Unrealistic expectations, and more importantly, huge infrastructure deficits.
Which leads to what analysts are calling pilot purgatory.
Pilot purgatory. I love that term. Only 9% of companies successfully move more than half of their pilots into production. The experiments are brilliant, but scaling them, that's where the ROI just dies.
And that failure to scale is directly tied to a massive financial accountability gap.
Precisely. Only about 25% of AI projects are delivering the expected ROI. And if you narrow that down to projects that are actually profitable long-term, an ROI above the cost of capital, that number drops to a shocking 18%.
Just 18% over the last 3 years. So if the projects are failing, why can't these companies figure out what went wrong and just fix it?
Because they can't measure the results objectively. Our sources show that a staggering 46% of organizations have no structured ROI measurement framework at all.
None.
They're just not set up to track it. Instead, you get informal expert assessments. About 32% track value that way.
So instead of a dashboard that says, this agent cut our regulatory fines by X amount, you just have an executive saying, yeah, I think that tool saved us some time.
That's pretty much it. A proper framework for AI ROI doesn't just track time saved. It has to track real cost reduction, new revenue generation, and cost avoidance, like stopping fraud before it happens.
Without those numbers, you can't learn, and you can't justify the investment beyond a pilot.
Exactly. And even if you fix the measurement problem, you slam right into the infrastructure challenge. We see these huge markets like the UK. It's a $72.3 billion market, but only 48% of projects ever make it to production.
Why is the plumbing so bad?
It's poor data quality, and specifically these legacy systems that create what's called hybrid by default sprawl.
Sprawl.
1 in 3 businesses literally pause their deployment after a pilot because their infrastructure couldn't handle it. Every department is in its own silo with its own systems.
Which makes it impossible for an agent to do those cross-departmental, multi-step tasks we were just talking about.
Right. The AI model can't get the clean, unified data it needs to be properly trained. This is why you hear this big push for a hybrid by design architecture.
You have to build it from the ground up to share data.
Absolutely. It has to be designed to allow that seamless cross-departmental data sharing from the start, instead of trying to patch together fragmented systems every single time.
So infrastructure failure, ROI failure.
Yeah.
Those are bad enough. But let's dive into what I think is the most profound crisis here, and that's the massive governance and compliance gap. And it's happening right at the C-suite level.
This data it's truly startling. It completely undercuts the entire investment thesis. A recent survey from Nitro found that 68% of C-suite executives,
The people setting the policy.
the very people setting the policy and approving the spend on secure internal tools, 68% of them violate their own corporate AI policies.
Within a 3-month period. That's 2/3 of the leadership breaking their own rules.
Yes.
So they spend $10 million on these heavily regulated corporate tools, and then they just use something else.
Yeah.
How bad must the user experience be?
It's a huge factor. The consumer AI tools are faster, simpler, they give you an immediate result. But it's also about a psychological and competitive pressure.
What do you mean?
Executives feel like they need to experiment privately right now without going through all the red tape just to keep up. They see the official corporate tools as slow and clunky.
And that behavior just sets a terrible tone for the whole organization.
Of course it does. It signals to the employees, and 50% of them are also using unapproved tools, that it's okay to break policy if the official tools aren't good enough.
And that leads to massive cascading security risks, especially with these agentic AIs.
Right. If you have an autonomous agent running across multiple systems, it basically becomes a privileged super user.
Yeah.
Suddenly you have an unsecured bot with the keys to the entire kingdom.
And our sources say 38% of organizations are worried about exactly that. Unsupervised data access by AI agents.
It forces a complete rethink of security architecture. You have to move to what we call zero trust principles.
Okay, what does that mean in practice?
In practice, it means you have to treat every single AI agent like a separate, verifiable digital identity, just like a human employee.
So it can't just trust the internal network by default.
Never. Every single access request has to be verified. The agent gets segmented, time-bound permissions. It can only access the data and systems it absolutely needs for that one task. And for a limited time.
Least privilege access.
Paramount for agents.
And this governance gap, it spills into the legal and ethical areas too. We saw some research on recruitment about a phenomenon called signal collapse.
Yes, this was fascinating. When AI-generated cover letters became common, the number of applications doubled. But the quality signal, the employer's ability to trust that the applicant actually had the skills they listed,
It just collapsed.
it collapsed under all the noise. And the study showed this led to a 19% reduction in hiring for the most capable people. The market actually became less meritocratic because of the automation.
And the accountability failure is already ending up in courtrooms.
Yeah.
There's a high court ruling where a solicitor committed a gross breach of duty by using an AI-generated expert report.
And presenting it as legitimate. But what's really disturbing is the systemic issue there. 14% of the experts they surveyed said they would have accepted that instruction.
It just highlights this massive confusion. If an AI agent is autonomous, who's liable when it messes up a regulated workflow? The coder. The CEO who used an unapproved tool.
That regulatory gap is the biggest risk of all.
So let's try to summarize this deep dive. We've seen the incredible power of autonomous agents. They can handle complex workflows, automate fraud detection, all of it. The tech works.
It does, but we've hit these deep friction points in the corporate world. A measurement crisis around ROI, massive infrastructure problems, and this critical crisis of executive compliance that undermines everything from the top down.
The path forward seems pretty clear, though.
It is. Responsible, governed implementation is the real differentiator now, not just raw technical power. In banking, for example, the EU AI Act now mandates explainability, traceability, human oversight.
There's a direct financial incentive.
A huge one. Companies that are proactive about this, like Philips, training 70,000 employees in AI literacy, they are 1.6 times more likely to see double the ROI compared to companies stuck in pilot purgatory.
You know, we focused today mainly on how AI affects companies and their internal operations. But here's the thought I want to leave you with.
Okay.
What happens when this technology pivots from helping the company to helping the customer?
That's the big one. Right now, consumer AI agents are on track to eliminate up to $170 billion in banking profits.
Wow.
By automating customer inertia. Think about it. Your personal agent will automatically move your savings to a bank with a higher interest rate. It'll consolidate your debt into cheaper loans.
It eliminates all the profit banks make from people just not bothering to switch.
Exactly, from customer inactivity and brand loyalty. So in this new era, the competitive battle isn't about optimizing your internal operations anymore. It's about competing against the consumer's agent, an agent that only has your best interest at heart.
So the real question becomes, what relationship will you have with your future agent when it starts managing your financial life for you?